nonstop Vikings talk. It's Purple Daily on Score North and ScoreNorth.com. Purple Daily, presented by Surly Brewing Company.
And then, boom, boom.
That's excellent, man.
Come on, we're going to do it. They get going. We're going. We're going. We're going. We're going.
Oh, man. Judd, you're muted there. There you go.
Not totally comfortable. He wasn't totally comfortable.
I don't know. OConnell was not.
Yeah,
he wasn't feeling the skull chant.
He wasn't feeling it. No question.
How can we make
it.
him more comfortable doing the skull chant? We should get Kevin on here and see if he wants to do a. We don't really do guests on the show very often. We'll bring our draft experts and Eric Eager for analytics and stuff. We should try and get KOC or Kwesi on the show here in the coming weeks. I think you would too.
We'll be very intentional with our.
I think Kwesi would too.
Oh.
You know, couple of analytics guys going back and forth, talking ball. Old Macadac and Kwesi. Me just reading Pro Football Focus statistics to Kwesi. And I don't know.
I'm sure you'd love that.
Using the word intentional 15 times. This is Purple Daily, by the way. Daily Vikings entertainment. We just want the Vikings to win a Super Bowl before we die. It's Mackie Judd, executive producer Declan Goff. The show is presented by Surly Brewing Company and TCL, one of the world's best-selling consumer electronics brands. They have a new lineup of award-winning TVs delivering the most entertainment with stunning resolution, all at an affordable cost. Enjoy more of the things you love with TCL. It's a 4-question Friday here. And speaking of Kwesi and Kevin O'Connell, question number 1 is, now that we've basically seen the offseason play out in terms of player acquisition, you know, the second part of the offseason now is player development and system installation and a bunch of things that are more behind the curtain that we won't really see play out until games start.
Right.
You know, they got the OTAs and mini camps and stuff coming up here, the rookie camp. But in terms of the things that we saw from January through the draft, roster construction, player acquisition, and everything you've seen and heard from Kwesi and KOC at press conferences, etc. What is your assessment of those two guys now that they've completed their first leg of their first offseason?
Oh, it's very, very tough to say because I don't know that I need to wait and see because I fundamentally don't agree with some of the approach, which doesn't mean that the players are bad. It just means that my approach would have been much more like what Ryan Poles did in Chicago than here. I think O'Connell has a very good idea of what he wants to do with this team from a personnel standpoint on game day. Is that going to work or not? No clue. On Kwesi, I literally need to wait and see because his approach is so different from the traditional football guys, which is fine, absolutely fine. But I need to see if the execution from a personnel standpoint of what his plan is actually works and how, if this makes sense, how on point he is with what his beliefs are and how they translate to the sport. So it's really hard for me to assess because I feel like it's still, like the roster's just about done, but I feel like there's still a lot of work in progress here to see how it works out because it's definitely a philosophy that I didn't agree with. Doesn't mean that I'm right and they're wrong, but it does mean that there's some interpretation left to be seen. So that's a long way of saying I don't really want to make a commitment to black or white. Yeah, it's great, or no, it's bad, because I'm not quite sure that it's the right approach, and I'm curious now.
Yeah, and I get that it's kind of an unfair question because the games will tell the story, right? If they win 12 games or something, then
right,
they
exactly.
were very clearly right. Exactly. If they win 8 games again, then all right, was it worth it, or should you maybe have gotten a head start on the next iteration of Vikings football? So we're not. I mean, even week 1, we're not going to know. We're not going to know anything until like October or November. But so it's kind of an unfair speculative question. But we tend to ask those on the show.
We do.
Dex?
Yeah, I'm in a wait and see, and also just they're gambling that they can run this back with the same core, with just a different philosophy in place. I keep using that chef analogy, and I think that's dead on. All the restaurant's the same, the food's the same, the ingredients are just going to be prepared a little bit differently. So can you make a better meal out of that? I just don't know. I need to wait and see. And I'm just thankful. I think the thing that I am optimistic about is that you're leaning into an offense here. The NFL is now about offense. Kevin O'Connell's been with the Rams the last few years, one of the most explosive and smartest head coaches in the NFL. And I'm willing to give him the time to wait it out, but I'm a little skeptical on their gamble of just basically running it back with the same offense and, for the most part, same defense with core players.
So they are running it back with a lot of the same core, but I like some of the other, to carry Declan's sort of kitchen analogy forward here, metaphor. I like some of the ingredients that they've brought in. Maybe the fillet is the same. Maybe the cut of meat is the same because you've got Kirk Cousins and you got, Adam Thielen and Harrison Smith, and your pillar players are largely still here. But, some of the little side dishes. I like the Harrison Phillips side dish a little bit better than the Michael Pierce side dish. Michael Pierce is a really good player when he plays, which he never does. The dude played less than 300. Pretty sure he played fewer than 300 snaps in 2 years with the Vikings. When he was on the field, he was very good. Harrison Phillips played like 600 snaps last year with Buffalo, right? So I like that. I Chandon Sullivan is better than Mackenzie Alexander. So I like, he's not a great slot corner, but Mackenzie Alexander was awful. I like the two defensive players they drafted in the first 2 rounds to help bolster the secondary. So they've added some nice little side dishes here to what they had last year. And they're betting that with better ingredients and a better chef, that they can get more out of all of these things. And so, again, I think the audience knows where all of us stand here by now, but I would have traded Kirk Cousins for a first or second round pick and moved on to just a different iteration. But when they decided what they did, I think they've done a pretty damn good job restocking things. So I also like personality-wise. I mean, you can even just tell in that clip of Kevin O'Connell on with Pat McAfee and AJ Hawk, it's like the guy is just sort of he's just a likable, good human, and people describe him that way. I don't know how many people were describing Mike Zimmer that way at any point during the 8 years, especially the last 2 years. And not that should be the be-all, end-all, but it is 2022. It is not 1992. It's not even 2012. There's a certain way that you have to connect with players in today's age. And Kevin O'Connell, we'll see on the field if he can actually coach, if he can actually manage a game and everything. But I think his personality has a much better chance of connecting with guys in 2022 than Mike Zimmer's does. First-year coach, it's still going to be tough, but I like where they're going with this. All right, question number 2 here for you guys. What do you think of I want a mock! Todd McShay's 2023 way too early mock draft? I love how he writes like 3 or 4 paragraphs of disclaimers before he gets to the mock.
Yes.
He hates doing this. So he says, the jet lag from Sunday's flight home from the draft is barely worn off, but I'm already digging into the 2023 class. This is in italics, an extremely early prediction. I haven't spent much time with the 2023 class's tape yet, and a lot of this is based on what I've seen while watching prospects in person over the past 2 seasons and early buzz around the league. Expect big changes between now and next April. Then he goes over some of the failures of his other way too early mock drafts. And then he says, then there's the draft order, which, italics, I did not decide.
He must
get ripped by people. You think this?
Yeah, he did. Yes, he did.
We opted to project the order using the inverse Super Bowl odds from Caesars Sportsbooks.
Okay.
All right, so I have not seen this yet, so I'm going through this with you guys. Texans, C.J. Stroud, quarterback, Ohio State. Lions, Bryce Young, quarterback, Alabama. Will Anderson is the first non-quarterback off the board in almost all these mock drafts. The edge rusher from Alabama to the Jets. Let's skip to quarterbacks here. Anthony Richardson, Florida quarterback, to the Panthers at 6. Will Levis, Kentucky quarterback, to the Giants at 8. Tyler Van Dyke, Miami quarterback, to the Seahawks at 9. That's 5 quarterbacks in the first 9 picks.
God, I'm glad the draft's going to be back where it belongs next season.
Hell yeah.
None of this BS and no quarterbacks.
Okay, I'm still scrolling. Okay, we get to the Vikings at 14.
Yeah, this is where they are. This is the story of their lives.
And they take Clemson defensive tackle Brian Breesy.
I want a mock.
The Vikings had one of the worst run defenses in the NFL last season, didn't draft a defensive tackle this year, and Dalvin Tomlinson's entering the final year of his contract. Breesy suffered a torn ACL in September, but he's primed to return for a big 2022 campaign. What are your thoughts?
Okay, I've been giving this a lot of thought. And because it's not just McShay, I've been giving the whole thing a ton of thought. Mock drafts, 23, okay? Because, I mean, Phil, you established this is like a great quarterback draft, potentially. Now, it remains to be seen, but it looks like it's a big-time quarterback draft. If the Vikings truly are set to draft, let's say 13, 14, 15, that clearly means that they had an okay season, not nice, okay season, but not a great one. It probably means that Cousins played okay, but he didn't elevate them. You know, he didn't get them into a top 10 pick. So if that's the case, don't you more than ever need to look at drafting Cousins' replacement after 23 in this draft? So, like, I don't understand. Now, if you're going to have, okay, the Vikings are picking 7th. Then I'm like, okay, Cousins was really good. Like, this really worked. Like, Kirk might come back again in 24.
Yeah, they would have missed the playoffs in this.
Yes. So the more I think about this, and I know that these are done hodgepodge and it's done league-wide, so it's not like, well, let's really think about the Vikings. But we do. We think about the Vikings day and night. We do a show every day of the year on the Vikings. If you're going to draft 13, I think you're looking for Kirk's replacement, not a defensive tackle.
Well, so you would have to. All right, let me crack the knuckles here. Let me pull up in the Jimmy Johnson draft.
Do you get my point?
Value chart. Yeah, but hold on. But here's the problem for your point. Okay? Because they have 5 quarterbacks are off the board before the 10th pick.
Oh, I know what you're saying. Yes. Yeah.
So you're drafting 13. It's not. I mean, he didn't. He clearly didn't mention quarterback in this write-up, but you have to trade up. You have to trade up.
Yes, that's what I'm saying.
So, do you want to trade up? If you want to trade up to 9 to get the 5th quarterback off the board, that feels like a huge reach to me. But if you wanted to do that,
go higher.
Okay, how high? Okay. Okay.
Top 5. Yep.
5. So you want to trade?
5.
Okay, let's see here.
Well, you get the Lions pick.
Yep. So Stroud and Bryce Young are going to be the first 2 picks. They're gone, which sucks because those would be great Kirk Cousins replacements.
Okay.
Then the 3rd quarterback comes off the board at 6, so you'd have to jump to 5. Okay. So to go from, and I believe they were 14th. So to go from 14 to 5, you'd have to give 600 draft value points.
Yep.
Which means a future first-round pick.
Yep.
Or your 2nd-round pick and maybe something else. But I think just in terms of the demand is going to be high to be moving up for these quarterbacks.
100%.
So you're talking about giving up a future first-round pick to move up, almost certainly. You probably have to give up like a 2nd or 3rd this year and then a future first just for the tax of outbidding the other teams. Yes. That's gonna be a fleecing on the draft value chart, but I'm just saying. Yeah. I'm sure the whoever trades out of that spot is gonna have 4 teams looking to get that 3rd quarterback.
Yeah.
So,
this is why you had to get Detroit's first-round pick.
That would have been, yeah.
But I mean, that's not
would have been the play.
That's the yeah. In other words, this is why I'm waiting to see.
And then of course there's a scenario where I think the more likely scenario, and I'm going against what Caesar says, is I think the Vikings are a playoff team. I think they're okay. You know, I mean, hell, I had them at 11 wins in our impromptu schedule pick, but let's say they're picking 20th. Everyone pretty much thinks, I would say 75 to 80% of Vikings fans think they're a playoff team. And so if they're a playoff team, correct me if I'm wrong, but the lowest they would be drafting is 21st or 20th. It'd be 20th, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, or 19th, whatever the hell. So that would put them around 900 draft value points. They'd have to accumulate 800 draft value. I mean, that would be then multiple. It would be like 1 or 2 first. This was like a Sonny Weaver trade, which was on last night on AMC draft day.
So he should have been fired right away. What an idiot.
I mean, that dude panicked and traded 3 first-round picks.
His positional value sucked too. He didn't get positional value.
And then he met his owner at like a Valley Fair or something.
He didn't get.
And the owner was like, "What are we going to do in the draft tonight? Like, you guys haven't discussed this yet."
Yeah, that was awful. He was a terrible executive. It's why the Browns stink. But if they make the playoffs, and they make a run, Cousins is coming back in 24 with a new contract. So like I'm which again I don't love, but it's going to happen. So like if you miss the playoffs but you're a middling team, that's worst case.
What's more likely at this point? That Kirk Cousins gets another miniature extension of some kind after this season, or that the Vikings draft a quarterback in the first round of the 2023 draft?
Well, if they're drafting 14th, he's going to get another extension. That's more likely.
I think it's more likely.
You tell me where they're drafting, and I'll tell you the answer to the test.
Yeah, let's say they're drafting 14th or later.
Extension.
We're just going to keep doing this every year.
But you're going to want to
keep doing it every
But the
year.
problem is, at that point in time, you're probably going to have a desire to move on, and now you've hamstrung yourself, and you can't.
I know.
Yeah.
Amazing. All right, I think it's halftime now of 4-Question Friday. I think we need to crack a cold one here. So, well, what are we cracking?
Well, we got the coffee mug, right?
Okay.
We got the coffee mug, and the weekend is just about here. The coffee mug is empty. There's no Java left in the coffee mug. But that's where Coffee Bender comes in from my friends at Surly. And on this Friday, I want to do the most appropriate thing possible. I want to crack the coffee bender from our friends at Surly, and I want to pour it into my coffee mug. And for the rest of this show, that's right. I'm going to be enjoying
that's great.
a coffee bender. Because Surly Brewing, unlike the Vikings and in general, Minnesota sports always has my back. Gentlemen,
cheers. Cheers to the weekend. Also, cheers to the chill boys that old Macadac's rocking right now. Just feeling as comfortable as humanly possible. The most comfortable underwear on the planet. What's one word to describe how chill boys are making you feel headed into the weekend, boys?
Thankful it's the weekend. Thankful for the Wild. Hopefully going up 2-1 by the end of the day, and hopefully even up 3-1 by the time we all reconvene back on Monday. So I'm thankful. I'm thankful for my chill boys.
I'm feeling cool. Because Chill Boys presents a cool with its warmth that is phenomenal.
No. Chill Boys is a Minnesota-based company, but you can find them online at chillboys.com. Find out why hundreds and hundreds of Purple Daily and Score North listeners have changed their lives through Chill Boys. Just tell them Purple Daily and Score North sent you. All right, question number 3 here. I'm sure everyone by now has heard, or if you haven't, Ryan Tannehill was asked about, hey, Malik Willis is here. Yeah, you gonna put him under your wing? And he basically said, and he wasn't like a super douche about it, but he said, I'm here to do my job and to compete. And if he picks some stuff up through us being around each other, that's great. But it's not my job to mentor Malik Willis.
Right.
Very much a Brett Favre, Aaron Rodgers kind of a deal.
Right.
Did you guys have a problem with Ryan Tannehill saying, it's not my job to mentor Malik Willis?
Zero problem. Now, if he's a jerk to him through his actions, that's a problem. But think about this for a second, okay? Tannehill, who I like, I don't love him, but I like him. He's good. Kirk's good, right? Think about if a guy like Kirk said, Malik Willis, I'm going to teach him everything I know. Okay, how many of those skills from Kirk or Tannehill are transferable to a quarterback who has a completely different style?
Yeah.
But I really think that this whole thing comes down to, like, Tannehill was being honest. Professionals don't like to lose their job. So what's he supposed to say? I'm going to mentor him to take my place next year. He's not going to say that. I appreciated the fact that he was candid. Now, if behind the scenes he's a complete jerk and won't talk to him, that's a problem. But we tend to run with, well, he didn't say I'm going to help him. And you know what? Sports is filled with frauds, right? How many guys have probably said, oh, I can't wait to help him out, and then ice the guy out? So, like, you know, if he had said, Malik Willis, and with the moment he gets in this building, I'm going to be like a father figure, and then he like won't talk to him, you're a complete fraud. I almost appreciate the fact that the Tannehill response wasn't completely fraudulent.
Yeah, I think so. Tannehill's at this weird spot in his career too, where he's actually the highest paid quarterback in the NFL to the cap this year.
Yeah,
they kind of shoved some of that money down the road, but he signed that big contract. It's probably one of the worst contracts, just because he's a good quarterback, but he's not a top 10 quarterback, and it's going to be tough for them to keep building that roster.
Correct.
But I think they can kind of get out of it after the season, and for sure after 2023. So he's not guaranteed to still be a starting quarterback in 2 years from now. If he doesn't play well in 2022, he kind of moves into that, no, he's a veteran. He's just a guy that's going to bounce around now for the rest of his career. So Ryan Tannehill probably has to focus on Ryan Tannehill for 2022. But I thought it was interesting. And to your point, there's some things I'm sure in film study and maybe some things mechanically that Malik Willis can learn from a Ryan Tannehill or a Kirk Cousins or whoever it is. But his style is going to be so much more improvisational if and when he becomes an actual starting quarterback. But people were kind of up in arms about that. What do you think, Declan?
Yeah, I didn't have too much of a problem with it. And yes, if he's a jerk behind the scenes, that's, a bit of a different story. I don't know if it was, I think it was Kyle Long or Chris Long, one of the offensive linemen tweeted out a video of like what it's like to, be mentored behind the scenes and what it's like looking up to players who are established veterans. And there's so many things, as he detailed, that you can just learn from watching someone just by watching them go to work every day, right? Like, so, yes, if Ryan Tannehill's like legitimately shutting down Malik Willis in meetings and like not embracing him, that's a different story. But also Malik Willis has the opportunity to just kind of watch what an NFL quarterback looks like. And I think, to be honest, outside of Tannehill not being a jerk, this is the most ideal situation for Malik Willis. Like, he's not going to start this year. He potentially could start next year. He's still a project. I know he fell completely out of the first round and into the third round, and mock draft community thought he would be a lock of a top 5 pick. I think for Malik Willis' sake, this is such a win for him. He gets to sit behind Ryan Tannehill and be groomed when he's ready to go.
And that's a great point too. Sports is about observation, right? Like in sports, playing, management, our jobs, they're competitive. And so, like, I love this whole thing of, well, are you going to mentor and take... I mean, think about how much we learned. And look, people can be nice and good, but you learn the majority of things, in my opinion, by observing, emulating, right? Like, it's not like, Pat Ricey, can I follow you around? Now, Pat's great and will help you out, but I learn a lot more from watching things. Mm-hmm. So like this whole pie in the sky, let's play nice. Oh, Ryan Tannehill, will you be my best friend? You don't need that. Observe, learn, and here's the most important thing too. You observe what not to do. Like, and that's not something like, hey, dude, you really suck at that. Thank you. Can you show me how not to suck at it? But it's observational. So you're like, I'm not going to do that. That person thinks he's smart and he's not. I'm not going to do that. So, like, life is sink or swim by observing way more to me than, like, relying on people and, like, oh, you got to help me out. No, actually, you don't. Just watch what I do, and if you like it, copy it.
I learned the most by watching Skip Bayless and Shannon Sharp personally, just screaming at each other.
Well, your Sharp impersonation proves that.
Come on, Skip. You gonna tell me Skip the Dallas Cowboys? The Dallas Cowboys?
No problem. No problem.
These guys.
That's a good. I like that one.
No problem.
All right, question number 4 here for you guys on 4 Question Friday. It's our random question of the week. I got sucked in on Netflix to the rise and fall of Abercrombie and Fitch documentary.
Oh yeah.
I gotta watch this.
It is.
Great.
Listen, as a kid who went to high school from 1999 through 2003 and then was in college this was like the Abercrombie era of. Now, I never personally got into Abercrombie. I don't know. I got sucked into some other trends here and there, but I was never really, I don't think I ever owned any Abercrombie apparel, but everyone else did, it seemed like. So my question to you guys is, what trends in fashion are you guys most ashamed of or were sucked into the most in your youth?
Dex?
Well, like, I have no sense still of much of any type of fashion. I really don't. I know I wear these nice little shirts. I don't know, man. I think that bacon collar V-neck with a flannel is like
working
that
well
there.
for you today.
I've never had a big fashion sense in general. It's just not my style. Yes, I'm not Pat Lager, by the way, which a lot of people thought at the vent line. I'm not related to Pat. Pat's not related to me.
At least 5 or 6 people came up to Pat Lager and were like, "Hey, Declan, what's up, dude?" He's like, "Oh, what's happening?"
I am Pat. I am not related to him. But one I do remember pretty well. I loved me in elementary school and even like honestly in middle school. Remember the cutoff shorts where you could like zipper off? You remember like there were pants and you could zipper them at the knee and then they become shorts. Oh. That was a thing like when I was like an elementary school kid and in the mid 2000s.
Really?
That was a total normal thing that like you'd zipper off the bottom and then they could be shorts. Okay. And then another thing that I remember very prominently, and I would wear these even just around because I was an idiot. when I played baseball or basketball, I would wear armbands and even like sweatbands just all the time. All the time.
Just in your not playing sports, you would just wear them.
All the
So
time.
you're just walking around on a Tuesday at Target and you're wearing a wristband.
What a D-bag.
Yes.
That's hilarious.
Yes, 100%.
Okay. And you're just wearing a sweatband? Just rocking a sweatband.
I saw this at the mall because someone I think was wearing one like when I was there last month. And this started too like when Melo got drafted and LeBron got drafted. Everyone had a headband, like a basketball head. Like they kind of brought the headband back a little bit and the Stay Melo stuff. And I remember that vividly. It was a whole thing that like in middle school people loved to wear those Melo headbands.
Yeah. So another one I never got sucked into, but you remember Jenko jeans from the early 2000s, late 90s? It was like 98, 99. These big, ridiculous baggy jeans that they were just, the pockets will go down to your calves, basically. And these were just huge jeans. And it was always like the smoker kids would wear the Jinkos, I feel like. But the ones I did get sucked into, there was an Abercrombie-like brand. It might have even been an offshoot, but it was called Hollister.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know if they still exist.
Oh yeah. I had
They
Hollister
still
stuff.
exist. Okay.
I remember
So Hollister basically said, we're going to charge you twice as much for those jeans and put a bunch of holes in them.
Yep.
And I was all in for like 3 years wearing just, it's like, my mom would ask her, I thought you said you got new jeans. I'm like, they are new. Don't you like them? She's like, why are there 19 holes in those jeans? Why are your boxers showing?
Every middle school girl loved them, the Hollister. And then even when you'd go into the mall, as you probably remember, Phil, like there was the model. Remember the model guy out there with his shirt off?
Yep.
And even, fun fact, brother Liam, as the heartthrob that he was, helped open the Hollister at the Maplewood Mall in like 2007.
Gosh, dude.
He helped open that Hollister. So yes, I knew Hollister. I had a bunch of hand-me-downs from brother Liam. I was not cool enough or good and looking enough to be rocking Hollister.
There's also a Von Dutch documentary out there too, just talking about the crazy sort of like murderous history of Von Dutch, those hats that eventually became known as Von Douche, if I remember correctly. But that was another early 2000s one that people got into.
That's good. So Dawn has the ripped jeans now. Women are wearing them.
They're definitely back in. Yeah.
She's got a pair because I always say those jeans got all ripped up. That's too bad. And she'll say, "Do you know how much I paid for these ripped jeans?" And I'm like, "Why would anybody pay for ripped jeans?" I wore big in the 90s or late 80s those acid wash jeans.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Were they
man.
pleated too at the top?
I don't remember, but they were definitely a big thing, and I felt like they fit big, which by the way I loved. I love clothes that fit big. Like, that's comfortable. So I like that. But they now,
in these acid wash.
in retrospect, look awful. But here's the real thing. It wasn't me. My parents in the 70s, the big collars, all the crap that we wore back in the shag carpet days. There are some pictures of young Judd where I look like I'm going to a disco. Thoroughly embarrassing now.
Dude,
thoroughly embarrassing.
Have you guys been watching Showtime? The Showtime Lakers.
I've seen the first 3 or 4 now.
Dude,
love it.
It's so good. And Jerry Buss's character, every episode, he's got one of those big, this is like late 70s, early 80s, one of those big ass collared button up shirts.
Yes.
And he's got the sport coat over it, but he buttons it down below his belly button.
Yes.
So he's just got this V-neck going down his hairy chest all the way down.
Go back and look at old. That was totally the norm. Men would have their chest hairs sticking out. My dad used to wear a big medallion chain and an unbuttoned sort of shirt like that. I mean, it's frightening to look.
Dude, I'm looking up on Google Images Jerry Buss 1980s, and it's not quite that pronounced, but he definitely shows the chest hair. Big time.
Absolutely.
And I
That's
guess
a great show, by the way.
one last one, and actually this is more of a recent one because my sister told me I had to stop doing this. I have ditched the skinny jeans. I no longer rock skinny jeans. Like I'll wear like, because I don't have the frame. They don't look good. I don't think they look very good on my.
Did your sister was it like a come to Jesus discussion or what?
Oh, she has been begging me, and in fact, I will say I have no problem saying this, that now that when I first started dating Kelsey, my girlfriend, that she said, "Can you convince my idiot brother to stop wearing skinny jeans?" So that was only like 8 months ago.
So it was an intervention. It was an intervention with two important women in your life.
Yes.
And your girlfriend agreed or didn't care?
She really, you know what? She was like, I think they're fine. And I don't know if that was just coming from a place of love and endearment, but she thought they were fine. My sister was adamant.
I think a girlfriend would tell you. I think
Yeah.
your sister might be so wrong here.
Yeah, especially if you pose
Could
the
be.
question and leave the door open. Mm-hmm. Yeah, she'll probably tell you.
From the day
That's true.
that we met, Dawn has never not mocked my clothes if she does not like them. In fact, the night that we met, I'm not joking, I was wearing a pair of sort of bigger jeans, and they were green, and I wore them everywhere. She called me Mr. Green Jeans, and I would wear them all the time.
Mr. Green
I was
Jeans.
once accused by a friend in the late 80s, I believe, of dressing like a Ken doll because I wear the same clothes all the time.
I can't rip
Jolly
you
Green
too much
Giant.
for the green jeans. One of my favorite pairs of jeans when I was probably 12 years old was a pair of green Gerbeaus.
Yeah.
You guys remember
I love
Gerbeau was a huge brand
Gerbeau
in
was
the 90s.
enormous.
Yeah, I had a pair of
remember
green
that.
Gerbeaus.
Dude, they were so comfortable, and I wore them constantly.
You're great. Yep.
And I was called Mr. Green Jeans.
All right, so yeah, check out that Abercrombie documentary on Netflix if you want to.
Yeah, I
sounds
think I'll
really
have
good.
to.
Flash back to the early 2000s. All right, that's a wrap here on Purple Daily. Daily Vikings and fashion entertainment here. Mackie, Judd, Declan, we'll see you guys tomorrow.